Created with free version for non-commercial use.
Now, like I said, arrays have specific methods for looping through, which I would suggest using over like a for loop or something, but you can do it. So let's go ahead and create an array. We'll say cars, and we'll set it to an array of just car names. So we'll say Ford, Chevy, Honda, and we'll say Toyota. Alright, so we have these car names, and then we can do a for loop. So we can say let I equals 0, and then the condition is going to be if I is less than, and then the array name, which is cars dot length, because we can count the number of values in the array. Alright, and then we just want to do I plus plus. So in this case, cars.length is going to equal 4 because we have 4 values in there. So in here, we can say console.log. Now, if we just log I, we'll get 0, 1, 2, 3. Now remember, we can access arrays or array values by just saying like cars1. Well, cars1 would equal Chevy because there's 0 base, so this would be Chevy. Now in the array, in the loop, we're going 0 through 3. So what we could do if we want to output the car names is we could console log cars and then wrap that I inside a set of brackets. That way the first iteration it's going to be cars 0, which will be Ford. The next one will be Chevy, Honda, Toyota. So we'll save, and now we can get the names of the cars. Okay, and obviously anything that is inside of this array. Alright, and you can do the same thing with a while loop. Just use cars.length where we did the condition right here. So instead of a solid number, we would use the length of the array. Alright, so let's say loop through array. Alright, now I'm going to comment out the for loop, and we're going to take a look at a for each array loop. So for this, what we'll do is take the array name and say dot for each. Okay, now this for each method, it takes in a callback function. So it takes in a self-calling function like this. Not a self-calling function, an anonymous function. And then it can take in 3 different things, but you really only need one, and that is whatever you want to use as the current iteration or the iterator. So I'm just going to use car. I think that makes sense since we're dealing with cars. Sometimes you'll see like current or car or something like that, but I like to use the singular name of the array. Alright, so what we'll do here is just console.log car. Alright, and save, and we get the same thing. So you can see how much cleaner this looks than this. So I would always suggest using a for each loop if you're trying to loop through an array for some reason. Alright, let's put a comment here. Now we also have a method called map, and map can work in a few different ways actually. But it's basically used to return something different, so to return a different array. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create an object of users. Alright, an array of objects of users. So we'll say ID 1 name John, and we'll just put a couple. So ID 2 name Sarah, and ID 3 name Karen. Alright, so we have these users. Now what I'm going to do here is set another variable called IDs, and what I want to do is I want to take this array of objects and I want to create an array of the IDs for these users. Alright, so I'm going to set this to users.map, and then map takes in a function just like for each. Actually, there's a couple things with for each I forgot to show you. I'm going to show you in a second. So in here we're going to say user. okay, just like we did with the for each, and then we're going to return user.id. Okay, so it's going to loop through and it's going to return each ID inside of an array. So now if I want to go down here, I can console.log IDs and save, and now I have an array of the user IDs. Alright, if I were to add another user here, sorry about that, if I were to add another user, let's say Steve, and save, you'll see that now we get Steve's ID, which is 4. Alright, so that's map. And there's a lot more to map as well, and we'll get into that later on. But I just want to show you real quick with for each. Like I said, there's 3 things that this can take in. One is the iterator. The next is the index. So index, if we want to go down here, let's actually make this a template string. And we'll put in this syntax, and we'll say index. We'll put a colon, and then we'll put the value, which is car, and save. And you can see that it starts at 0 and just increments by 1. Alright, another thing we can pass in is the actual array, so the entire array. So we can access that if we say console.log array and save, and now you'll see you can access the whole array, and it's gonna loop through each time and show each time. Alright, so I just wanted to mention that real quick. Now the last thing I want to show you is a for in loop, which is often used for objects. So let's create a single object called user, and we'll give this user a first name and last name and age. Alright, so we have this user. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say for. Okay, so it starts off like a regular for loop, and then we're going to do for let x in user. Alright, so it's called a for in loop. And then in here, first thing I'll do is console log x. Let's see what that gives us. Alright, so x is going to give us the keys. Alright, so inside of an object we have a key and a value. These are key value pairs. So x will give us just the key. Now if we want to get the object, what we can do, I'm going to put a template string in here. We'll put the key and then a colon, and then if we want the value, what we can do is we can say user, and then some brackets and then x. Alright, so if we save that, now you can see we're basically looping through the object and getting the key value pairs. Alright, so that is a for in loop. Alright, so that's going to do it, guys, for this video. We're going to get more into iteration later on, especially in our projects. But these are the basics, the general loops, and you have specific methods for arrays and objects. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Created with free version for non-commercial use.